The only thing about that we didn't really talk about is the premise control, and that's really about good sanitation and, cleaning up your manure piles around your hay feeders and your feed bunks, any of those areas where you've got organic matter that's decaying. Something that has worked in the proximity of premises is that, the parasitic wasps,
Mm-hmm.
all right, have been pretty effective, in a confinement situation. So that's something to think about. I'm a little bit opposed to putting fly traps, et cetera, inside of a building, because what it does is it attracts the flies to the building. And so that becomes, while you think you're solving a problem, you may be actually creating a greater problem.
Welcome to the Beef Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast. I'm Travis Mullenix, and today I'm lucky to have Dr. Ron Lemenager with us from Purdue University.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here.
So Ron's a professor and beef extensive specialist in the Department of Animal Sciences. You've been there for how many years now?
Over 40.
Over 40.
Yeah.
A lot of experience, and this 9 minutes that we have in this podcast here won't be enough to cover all the experience and knowledge that you've gained in those 40 plus years.
Well, we'll share whatever we can.
Sounds good. So today we're going to talk about fly control, and fly control is a big issue in the beef industry. It's for a lot of producers, it's a tough issue to deal with. It's very challenging, and it's evolving as we have climate change happening with drier weather, change in when timing of rainfall, etc. And so today we'll jump into fly control. Discuss with us the importance of fly control from your standpoint.
Well, I think we've got 4 different types of flies that we have to be concerned about, and 2 of them are kind of in the premise area, and 2 of them are kind of on the pasture fly kind of a deal. And so let's talk a little bit about the pasture flies first, and that would be the face fly and the horn fly. And their life cycles are a little bit different. The face fly can travel several miles. Okay, it does not stay on the animal. It eats off of secretions, where the horn fly basically is much smaller, but it is a biting insect. Okay, and it stays with the animal and only leaves the animal to deposit eggs in the fresh manure. So from a standpoint of control, the horn fly might be a little bit easier to control, simply because I can treat the animal and make that work. In the premise side, we've got the house fly and the stable fly, and both of those tend to deposit their eggs and live in areas where I've got decaying feed material, organic material like manure, those kinds of things. And so my control methods are a little different from the pasture side than they are from the premise side. So we talk about, the horn fly. Let's zero in on him for just a second. The horn fly is a bloodsucker. They will eat 20 to 30 times a day and about 1 cc of blood per meal. So, when we get 200 flies per animal, that's kind of considered the economic threshold. And I will be the first one to admit that that's kind of hard to count them, okay, on an animal. But so we start thinking about, what are some of the fly control methods for both the face fly and the horn fly. We've got self-applicators. So we got dust bags. We've got walk-through sprayers. And if you're going to use the self-applicators, it's really important that it's a forced use situation where the animals have got to go through that, either to get to the mineral, to maybe a shelter, maybe to water supply, whatever. So that fits some operations and it doesn't fit other operations, particularly when you get out into expansive range country. The self-applicators become somewhat more limited in their use effectiveness. Feed-through products are another one that we could sure consider. So we're talking about feeding an insect growth regulator. And basically what it does is it breaks the life cycle. It doesn't do anything for the adults, but it prevents the eggs from developing through the larval stage onto the fly stage. And so if you start early in the season with feed-through products, you'll do a pretty good job of controlling horn flies. Doesn't work as well for the face fly. And the face fly, it becomes a problem from the standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, that they can travel several miles. And so if the neighbor's got face flies, you're probably going to have face flies too. And then we've got producer applied products. So those would be kind of like the pour-ons or maybe sprays. Those are good. They do a nice job of knocking things down. Typically, the products that I would kind of consider more effective are the oil-based pour-ons and sprays, simply because they last a little longer. But you're probably going to have to come back and reapply, on a periodic basis as the fly pressure starts to build. And then we've got insecticide ear tags, and I think we've kind of got lulled into the idea that, well, I put an ear tag in, I've got my fly control problem satisfied. A couple points about that one is that we do have some insecticide resistance. And so if you're using the same type of product every year, so there's three basic types of ear tags: a pyrethrin, the organophosphate, and the macrolytic cyclanes. And we probably need to think about rotating those on a yearly basis, so we kind of break that fly resistance problem. And these fly tags are not going to probably last all season long. They're probably going to last 8 to maybe 12 weeks, and we've got a 6-month period or plus or minus, depending on where you're at in the country, of fly season. So you're probably going to have to use a combination of maybe insecticide, impregnated ear tags, and maybe a feed-through product, and maybe a producer applied product like a pour-on or a spray. So those are kind of in a nutshell, the pasture side.
Why Genetics turns podcast airtime into brand authority. We don't sell ads, we elevate voices. Curious how far your voice can go to become a reference in the industry and attract more leads? Scan the QR code and discover how we can turn your expertise into unmatched brand authority. Let's transform expertise into influence, starting now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of challenges with that. Is like you say, timing is a challenge. Payload or how long they last is a challenge for a lot of producers. And we've seen a shift in the length of time we have flight issues as well. And a lack of new products coming out. And so that has been a lot of challenges for a lot of beef producers.
Well, there's one other thing that's kind of new into the marketplace, and I think the jury is still a little bit out, but there is a vaccine out now for ticks and horn flies. The face fly problem is not being covered by that vaccine, but I think that they're working on that. So we'll kind of see how that kind of plays out. I know of a couple producers that are kind of trying it out. And I haven't seen a lot of data yet. Travis, maybe you've seen some data, but I haven't seen any data yet.
No, and there's that potential of some genetic component as well, and that may be promising in the future of a genetic tie that would help with flies.
You bet. And to that point, about 80% of the flies are on 20% of the cattle. All right. So the bulls and certain cows seem to be more attract more flies than others. And so that genetic component is another piece that I think, as producers look into the future, that something to consider.
As we wrap this up, is there anything you want to touch on that we didn't discuss?
The only thing that we didn't really talk about is the premise control, and that's really about good sanitation and, cleaning up your manure piles around your hay feeders and your feed bunks, any of those areas where you've got organic matter that's decaying. Something that has worked in the proximity of premises is that, the parasitic wasps, all right, have been pretty effective, in a confinement situation. So that's something to think about. I'm a little bit opposed to putting fly traps, et cetera, inside of a building, because what it does is it attracts the flies to the building. And so that becomes, while you think you're solving a problem, you may be actually creating a greater problem.
Correct. Due to the lifespan of a fly and the turnover rate of flies, you could be creating a nonstop issue.
Yep.
Well, Ron, thank you for jumping on the podcast. A lot of great information about fly control. Definitely a big challenge for a lot of producers in the United States and elsewhere.
Thank you.